Slovenia and Croatia are beefing up their border restrictions in a bid to seal off the Balkan route to migrants. It's been used by scores of people seeking a new life in Europe. Slovenia is reportedly only allowing in those who plan to seek asylum in the country or are coming for humanitarian reasons. Serbia has indicated that it will follow, and the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia has completely closed its border to illegal migrants, according to police. The Slovenian Prime Minister says the closure of the Balkan route means that all countries on this route, including Greece and with the cooperation of Turkey, will turn back all irregular migrants. Border restrictions have already been having a domino effect, leaving thousands trapped here in Greece, where they've entered Europe. Earlier this week, the EU and Turkey, where migrants set out from, agreed a plan aimed at easing the crisis. But doubts have been cast over its legality.
EU officials have been reacting to Slovenia's move to place new border restrictions on the entry of migrants.
Third country nationals who do not satisfy the entry conditions into the Schengen area or who have not made an asylum request despite having had the opportunity to do so will not be given entry into Slovenia. This is in line with the European Council conclusions of the 18th and 19th of February, where we're getting back to a situation where all members of the Schengen area are fully applying the Schengen border code and ending what is called the wave-through approach.
Slovenian lawmakers hope the move is only temporary.
The citizens believe that Slovenia was left alone, that the measures of European Union are not functioning. That's why we decided, or the government decided, to build the fence. I hope that after this announcement of the EU leaders, and I hope after the concrete results of the summit, that the Balkan route is somehow irregular route stopped, that we can be as well able, and that the government will take a decision to tear down the fence.
But that's not the view of the head of the European Parliament, Martin Schulz.
This strategy to close the borders will prevent no single refugee to run and to seek for protection and asylum. But we are narrowing this access to the European Union, pushing more and more people in the hands of the smugglers. Therefore, it's not meaningful.
EU leaders will meet again next week to discuss the migration crisis once again.
A nationwide day of protest in France is causing transport disruptions, with thousands of workers out on the streets. Train services came to a halt in many places amid demonstrations against controversial labour reforms. It didn't take longer than usual once we got the train, says this commuter, but the one we wanted to catch, which was up on the screen, never came. Railway workers joined up with other sectors on strike, but operators have been attempting to keep as many services as possible going. It's a difficult day for our passengers, says this official. We're working to support them and ensure the day goes as smoothly as possible. Students have also joined the main unions in the day of action. This amid government plans to overhaul everything from maximum working hours and rules about days off to the size of redundancy packages.
A Ukrainian pilot gives a message of defiance to a Russian court. Prosecutors allege that Nadia Savchenko, who had transferred from the Air Force to fight with Ukrainian ground forces, helped direct artillery fire in the Luhansk region. 2 Russian television reporters were killed by a shell as a result. The Ukrainian national anthem did not go down well in the Russian court. Savchenko is considered a national hero in Ukraine and was elected a member of the country's parliament during her imprisonment under Yulia Tymoshenko's Fatherland Party. This protester says she thinks they're keeping the pilot behind bars to show that they want to break and conquer Ukraine. Timoshenko says, I think the Western leaders, the leaders of the world's leading nations, and the people in the whole world should today stand together against Putinism. And that means for the defense of Savchenko, for the defense of Ukraine, and against the war in Ukraine. Savchenko is charged with murder, attempted murder, and illegal border crossing. Her verdict is expected on March 21st, but she wants to know her fate now. In the meantime, she will continue refusing foods or liquids.
Last hope for Ukrainians to obtain the liberation of Nadia Savchenko is a huge international pressure on Moscow, because everybody thinks here that every decision is in the hand of Vladimir Putin. Sergio Cantone, Euronews, Kyiv.
Israeli police have shot and killed 2 Palestinians accused of opening fire on traffic in Jerusalem. One person's in a serious condition after the shootings. Police say the 2 attackers fled the scene after opening fire. This is the latest in a string of violent attacks in Israel, and the latest coincide with a visit by the US Vice President Joe Biden. On Tuesday, a Palestinian carried out a knife attack on the waterfront in Tel Aviv. An American tourist was killed and 12 people injured. Violence over the past 5 months has claimed the lives of at least 179 Palestinians, 28 Israelis and 2 US nationals. New statements from Pyongyang that will do nothing to calm rising tensions on the Korean peninsula. The North Korean leader says his country has miniature nuclear warheads that can be placed on ballistic missiles. This is the first time he's publicly talked about possessing such a weapon, a claim that's not been independently verified. Washington and Seoul also doubt it's true. The claim comes only days after Pyongyang warned the US and South Korea that its army was on alert to carry out what it described as indiscriminate nuclear strikes. The North is angry about the largest ever military exercise being carried out by American and South Korean soldiers.
Legendary Beatles producer Sir George Martin has died, aged 90. During his 6-decade career, he shaped the Fab Four into the world's most important pop music force, producing almost all of their recordings. Band drummer Ringo Starr announced Martin's death on Twitter. The Universal Music Group in Los Angeles confirmed it, but said details were not immediately known. Referred to as the 5th Beatle, Martin was producer, collaborator and mentor to John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison and Ringo Starr. Martin was knighted in 1996. He was named the most successful producer ever by the Guinness World Records. He notched up more than 50 #1 hit records in America and the UK alone. British Prime Minister David Cameron has paid tribute, calling him a giant of music. A total eclipse in Indonesia. Crowds of skywatchers have gathered to see the rare astronomical spectacle. A partial eclipse of the sun was also visible to millions in Australia, other parts of Southeast Asia and the Pacific. But only people in a small band of Indonesia have the opportunity to see the moon perfectly silhouetted by the sun. Indonesia last saw a total eclipse back in 1983, and it will be 3 years until the next one. It's a sight that's drawn thousands to this part of the world, but not everyone in Indonesia's had a good view this time around. Cloudy skies and smog obscured the total eclipse in Palembang city on the western island of Sumatra, disappointing the crowds who gathered shortly after daybreak. The world's next total solar eclipse is due in August next year and should be visible in the US.